Now, Rashawn, can I ask you a few questions about what happened that day? Do you think you could answer those?
Sure thing.
Now, when you started out your day, you were walking down North Main Street, correct?
Yes.
And you were facing straight ahead of you. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you heard some voices behind you, right?
Yes, I did.
Multiple voices, maybe even 4?
Yeah, there were a couple people
Ask
back
more
there.
small questions. So you never at any point turned around, did you? Like, ask those small. So you were facing down, and you didn't turn around at that point, did you?
Okay. Do you want me to go back?
No, just keep asking that though.
Okay. And you didn't turn around at that point, did you?
No, I didn't.
Now, you heard voices behind you. Is that true?
So
Yes.
say, okay, so I'm going to give you this, and then you can watch this and design it based on this feedback I'm giving you. So you say at some point you started hearing voices behind you. Is that right? And you heard more than one voice, didn't you? Correct? As a matter of fact, you said you heard 2, 3, maybe even up to 4 voices behind you. Isn't that right, Rashawn? So you're asking like step by step by step. So go back and ask that little series. Consider that like a little strand. He's walking, and as he hears the voices, and how many?
Now, you were walking down North Main Street. Is that true?
Yes.
And you're facing straight ahead of you, correct?
Yes.
And at this point, you never turned around, did you?
No, I didn't.
And then at some point, you started to hear voices behind you, correct?
Yeah, halfway down the road.
And you heard you heard more than one voice, correct?
Yeah, there were a couple voices back there.
You heard 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 voices.
Like I said, there were a couple people back there.
And these voices were fairly loud, weren't they?
Yes, they were. They were talking smack about me. It wasn't very nice.
So they were, what is talking smack?
Well, it's just mean things, and most people don't do it because some people are nice anyway.
And out of all these loud talking voices, you think you heard, or you think you were able to pick Leslie St. Peter's voice out?
Okay, before you do that, you want to point out that he still has not turned around. So continue to go back to that and say, but even though you're hearing these voices, you still aren't turning around. Right, Rashawn? You keep walking, trying to ignore the voices behind you. Isn't that right?
It does that actually like say that, or does
He
that
doesn't turn around until the moment before he was shot.
Yeah, but it doesn't say he was ignoring them.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I think Andrew always tries to fit that in that
Yeah.
that he was ignoring them,
Yeah, so you say, so you didn't turn around.
but that's not really the material. It says he heard voices and then he started to spin around when he recognized us.
So it says immediately you turned around?
Yeah.
It doesn't say.
What does it say?
It doesn't really say what he says. It says, I was walking down North Main Street, about to turn on West Crescent, heard kids behind me. They were 2, 3, or 4, blah, 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 talking smack. And then the only voice I recognized was this kid named Muncher. I started to spin around and I said, hey, Muncher, what's up? It doesn't talk about the time. Go ahead.
We want to play it off as fast on Rashawn's cross, and slow on Logan's cross to show the differentiating time.
Right.
So that's another inconsistency.
But, okay, but I still think keeping it straightforward that he didn't turn around and look at these kids. Like, it wasn't like this kid turned around and was like, what's going on back there? He didn't do that. He was looking ahead until that moment. So if you said, now, so you're walking down Main Street and you hear voices behind you. Isn't that right, Rashawn?
Yes.
And you said you heard multiple voices, correct?
Yeah, there were a couple things.
As a matter of fact, you said, did you not, that you heard 2, 3, maybe even 4 voices behind you as you were walking down the street.
Like
correct?
I said, a couple kids.
But you only heard those voices. When you first heard them, you didn't actually turn around and see who was back there, did you?
Well, they were talking smack. I didn't want to talk to them.
So the answer is yes. You didn't turn around and see who was behind you when
Correct.
you first
I
heard those
didn't
voices.
turn around.
So I just think you want to point out that he didn't see who was back there. So if he says, no, I turned around right away, okay, then you say, well, let's slow down. You turn around, and now you made a statement, and then that's when you get into that statement. So I think adapt it based on the answers they're giving you, but I really want you to just point out that this kid did not see who was behind him.
Okay, so how can I say that he was ignoring them somehow. If that's what I'm trying to imagine.
You don't have to say that. You don't have. If you don't want to say that he was ignoring those voices at first, then leave that part out.
Okay, so I just
But you could play that and see what they say.
say something along the lines that he heard the voices talking, and he hadn't turned around when he heard the voices, but then just a few seconds passed or whatever, and he turned around and saw the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it was.
So go back to the start. Let's try it all again.
Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions, Rashawn. Do you think you could answer them?
Sure.
Questions about what happened to you that day. You be specific about that.
I'm going to ask you a few questions about what happened to you that day.
On March, I'm sorry,
On March
I keep interrupting. Yeah, about what happened to you on March 11, 2012, just to be really clear. And then also, you say, now you were walking down the street that day. Well, it was a long day, right? Now, you talked on Cross about the fact that you came to be walking down the street around 3 o'clock. So just so you're really clearly,
specific.
Yeah, so there's nothing assumed about what we're talking about here. So don't make those assumptions.
I'm going to ask you a few questions about what happened to you on March 11, 2012. Do you think you could answer them?
Sure.
Now, you stated in your direct that you were walking down North Main Street around 3 o'clock. Is that true?
Yes.
And you were looking straight ahead of you, correct?
Yeah.
And at this point, you never turned around to look behind you, did you?
There was no need to.
Now, you also stated that you heard some voices behind you. Was that true?
Yeah, a little while later.
And these voices were quite loud?
Well, they were talking smack about me.
Come on, guys, keep working hard.
Thanks, Mr. Austin.
And there was more than one voice behind you, correct?
Yes.
There were 2, 3, maybe even 4 people behind you?
There were a couple kids.
Remind him that he said that.
Okay. And you said that there were 2, 3, or maybe even...
Emphasize, and you actually said to emphasize that. Now, don't just skim over it. And you said that, say, and you, Rashawn, didn't you say that you thought, so we're pointing out this is him saying this. This isn't necessarily fact. This is what he said. And then when you later talk about the other kind of weird things he said or didn't say, we're talking about all this stuff that Rashawn says happened. Right? Okay.
Just opposite.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said that there were
Good.
2, 3, or maybe even 4 people behind you.
Yes, and Leslie was one of them.
Now, hold on about that for a moment. But you, at this point, after hearing these voices, you didn't immediately turn around behind you, did you?
No, they were talking smack.
And what is talking smack?
It's just saying mean things about other people.
So you're walking down the street, and you're hearing voices behind you, and you didn't turn around.
No,
Is that true?
I was trying to ignore them.
Now, when you eventually started to turn around, you said that all you saw was a gun. True?
Well, I turned around to talk to Leslie, and he pointed a gun straight at my face.
Now, you made a statement for this case today, didn't you?
Yes.
This statement was made just a few months after the incident happened.
I don't remember the exact date, but that sounds right.
And you knew that any information in this statement had to be true and accurate.
Yes.
Now, in the statement, is it your words that you turned around, and when it's true that when you turn around and you see a gun, all you see is the gun?
Yeah, but before that, I said, "Hey, Muncher, what's up?" And when I turned around, that's when I saw the gun.
Okay, so let's go back and handle this a little bit. Okay, so that was good. But I think, now, Rashawn, and I want you to be, especially here, I want you to be condescending. Especially here. Now, Rashawn, back in August, your lawyers told you to write a statement. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And they told you, Rashawn, that it was really important that when you wrote that statement, do you hear my tone? I'm saying, they told you, Rashawn, didn't they? Like, you kind of remember, what's your little sister's name, your little 7-year-old?
Shiana.
Okay, Shiana. Now, Shiana, don't lie to me. If you took my stuff out of my room, you need to tell me right now. Right? I was a little sister, so I'm familiar with that conversation. But, so now, Rashawn, your lawyers told you to write a statement for this case, didn't they?
Yes.
And back in August, they sat you down and they said you needed to write a statement that had all of the facts in it, didn't they?
They told me to write it as best as I could.
And they said that it had to be as accurate as it could be and as thorough as it could be, right?
Yes.
And they told you it was really important that you make that statement really accurate and really thorough because it could be used in court today, right?
Yes, they did.
Now, in that statement, when you described the moment that you turned around, this very important moment, you never said in that statement that you saw Leslie, did you?
Well, I said that I talked to Leslie, hey, Muncher, what's up?
That's not what I asked you, Rashawn. I asked you, in that statement, and note, so did you hear that pause I gave it? That's not what I asked you, Rashawn. I asked you, you never stated anywhere in that statement that when you turned around, you saw Leslie at that point, did you?
Not at that point.
So, okay, that's not what I asked you. You know, kind of like making it being the sort of scolding mom. Now, what you said instead was that you heard voices behind you, maybe 4 different people talking. You thought one of them was Leslie, and so you turned around and you said, hey, Muncher, what's up? And at that point, you said all you could see was the barrel of a gun. Isn't that right?
Yes, he had pointed a gun at my face.
Someone was pointing a gun at your face. But
Yes.
you could not see the face of the person who was holding that gun. Could you, Rashawn?
Not at that time.
Now, so at that time, you had no way of knowing if the voices you heard and the voice you suspected was Leslie was in fact Leslie St. Peter. Not at that moment, did you?
Not at that moment.
But you assumed that that person holding that gun in that moment was Leslie St. Peter, didn't you?
I've known Leslie for years. I know his voice. So yes, I
Rashawn, that's not what I asked you. I asked you, you assumed at that moment the person holding that gun was Leslie St. Peter, didn't you?
I was fairly certain, yes.
That's important, isn't it? That just came in. That's where this all... I love it. That was a good expression, Adam. I know you think I'm a genius, obviously. He just went...
Hey, we won't know it's recorded.
Yeah, I know. But that is it. That's the moment that Leslie gets this pinned on him. His voice is inaccurately identified, and from that moment, Rashawn thinks that that's who shot him. From that moment, Rashawn assumes that it's Leslie St. Peter because of the voice. And Rashawn, Leslie's world unravels from there. So you gotta say, and this is good, you can go back and watch this. I'll put this as a private on YouTube to watch. Now Leslie, or Rashawn, you then were immediately shot 4 times. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And after being shot, so you were shot in the arm, in the chest, and in the stomach and in the knee, right?
Yes, I was.
And you fell straight back onto the pavement. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And you didn't see anyone while you were falling. Isn't that right?
Not when I was falling.
So as you were falling down to the ground, you were in so much pain, and you were in so much shock from being shot, you didn't see anyone, correct?
I wasn't paying attention to them.
Right. Now, once you were on the ground, though, you turned your head, you stated, and you saw someone wearing a yellow jacket running away, correct?
Yes.
And you thought you had heard Leslie's voice just a few seconds before that, correct?
Yes.
And then you thought that person wearing that yellow jacket was Leslie St. Peter, correct?
It was the same person.
Now, you knew Leslie owned a yellow jacket, right?
Yes.
So you saw that yellow jacket, you had heard a voice, And in your mind, the person who was running away was Leslie St. Peter, correct?
It was the same jacket Leslie accused me of stealing a week before, so I did recognize it, yes.
Then I would just move on. I mean, and obviously people are going to give different answers. But, like, I think even saying, so you were falling back, you saw someone wearing a yellow jacket. Now, you knew Leslie owned a yellow jacket, didn't you? You had just heard, or thought you heard, always have to say, you thought you heard Leslie's voice, right? And then you thought you saw Leslie running away. No, I know I saw Leslie. They're going to say, I know I did. Let that go. Because the jury gets it. They get what you're saying. And you don't have to fight. And don't give them any more opportunity. And then on redirect, they're going to come up and say, now, how can you be sure that was Leslie St. Peter? And they're going to do their little, like, blah, 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 blah. You got it. I think if you get through that, you've made the point, the jury gets it, the jury hears that this kid really didn't see anything, just heard a voice and, like, made some assumptions, and this kid's life is unraveled ever since then.
And even if it was Leslie there, we don't know if it was Leslie with the gun.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. And then what do you ask after that? Why don't you go back and ask that series of questions about the gun in the face, and you made the statement and all that. Why don't you try that? You're condescending part.
After which part?
The part where you're going to condescend and be like, no, he made a statement. But you're asking him about
the gun.
When you turned around.
Okay.
When you turned around. There came a point when you turned around, correct? So it sort of starts from there.
Okay. Now, Rashawn, after a while, you started to turn around, correct?
Yes, I was getting fed up.
Use language, though, like, and I know it's weird to say exactly what I said, but I use this phraseology because it's a little bit more mature. There came a point when you turned around. So instead of like, you eventually turned around, like you could say that, it's fine, but you're trying to get the judge to imagine you as a grown attorney. So just think of, like, as you watch this and review, think of, like, language that you can use that you can elevate. So I'm sorry, keep going.
Now, Rashawn, there came a point when you turned around. Is that true?
Yes, I was getting fed up with the voices.
And upon turning around, you saw the barrel of a gun pointed at you.
Yes, Leslie was holding the gun and he pointed it at my face.
Now, back in August, your attorneys instructed you to make a statement about what happened on March 11th. Is that true?
Yeah, they told me to write down what had happened.
And they told you to write down all relevant information and all relevant and accurate information. Is that true?
Yes.
And you knew that everything you wrote down could be used in court at a later date, such as today?
Yes.
More condescending. Mm-hmm. Like, lift your voice at the end. Like, and they told you this, right? Kind of, like, so you're talking a little bit down to them.
So you knew that everything in your statement had to be accurate?
Yes.
Now, in your statement, you say that when you turn around, or after you turned around, you stated that when a gun is pointed at you, all you see is the gun. Is that true?
Yes, the gun was pointed in my face.
Okay, so
And
there's a difference between what I said and what you're saying. And here's why this is critical. And when you watch the tape back, I think you'll see it. Well, you're jumping right to what he said about all you see is the gun in your face. Instead, you've just made him say, I said all this stuff, it's true and it's accurate, and now he knows he's got to stick to it. He's got to stick to it. So instead of quoting him at that point, slip this in there. Say, and in that statement, Rashawn, you actually never say that you saw Leslie holding that gun, do you? So you're saying you never saw this, right? In fact, what you said was, so do you see why sliding that in there? It's because you're telling the jury, he never said that he saw Leslie. He never said that. So you're reminding him of that.
So you knew that all information included in your statement had to be relevant and accurate?
Yes.
Now, nowhere in your statement do you say that you ever saw Leslie St. Peter holding a gun. Is that true?
Not at that moment.
Never in your statement do you say that you saw Leslie holding a gun, do you?
He shot me too fast, I couldn't see his face.
Make him say it.
You never...
Say, Rashawn, nowhere in your statement is it true or false that nowhere in your statement do you say that you saw Leslie St. Peter pointing a gun at you?
No.
Like, make him say it. Like, you gotta, like, make him say, no, I didn't say that.
Okay.
Because they're gonna do that. Like, exactly what Paul's doing. I mean, he's doing it right. So you gotta, and so I see your tendency is to kind of walk over, make him say it, make him say it. Because you really gotta be tough on this character. Try it.
Rashawn, nowhere in your statement
Good.
do you ever say that you saw Leslie St. Peter holding a gun. Do you?
He shot me too fast.
Rashawn, never in your statement that you made that you said was accurate do you say that Leslie St. Peter was holding a gun.
No,
Do
I
you?
didn't.
Right.
And
And the other thing you can do is you can say things like the first question you say, so that's a no. You never said that, did you? Don't forget that little device.
in fact, you say that when a gun is pointed at you, all you see is the gun. Is that true?
The gun was right in my face.
Now, immediately after seeing the gun, you were shot 4 times. Is that true?
Well, I managed to yell out, "Hey man, you're crazy," and then he shot me.
So you yelled.
Yes, I did.
And then you were shot 4 times, correct?
Yes, Leslie shot me 4 times.
And you don't say that, do I just leave that part? The Leslie shot me 4 times? Would I just leave that? Or would I say, like,
I would let that go at this point because you kind of made your point. You say, now, you just stated that you could use it to your advantage. So if I was doing, I'd say, now you just said that Leslie shot you 4 times. Is that what you're stating here?
Yes, Leslie is the one who shot me.
But again, Mr. Anderson, I want to just be clear. Nowhere in your pre-trial, in the first time you're saying this, is here in court today. You never said that in your sworn statement prior to court. In fact, in your sworn statement prior to court, you said you didn't see who was behind that gun. Isn't that right?
Well, I heard him.
Let's talk
And I
about
saw
that.
him after he shot me.
You heard Leslie. You saw the barrel of a gun. You were shot, and then you fell to the ground. Is that a fair description of the series of events that occurred?
Yeah, and I yelled there. Yes.
And you yelled.
Yes.
Now, as you were falling to the ground, you didn't see anyone, did you?
No, I was in too much shock. To
You were
see
in
what
shock.
happened. Yes.
You were in pain. You had been shot 4 times.
Yes.
And then while you were on the ground, all you say you saw was a yellow jacket and someone running away, correct?
I saw Leslie wearing his yellow jacket and he ran away.
Now, you knew that Leslie owned a yellow jacket, didn't you?
Yes.
And you saw someone who owned a yellow jacket running away from you after you were shot, didn't you?
It was the same jacket he accused me of stealing the week before.
And you had just suspected, you want to run over and put that? You had just suspected that you heard Leslie's voice behind you, correct?
Yes.
So you thought you heard Leslie's voice, you turned around, you didn't see the shooter, you fell to the ground after being shot, and then you saw someone wearing a jacket that looked like Leslie's jacket. Is that right?
It was Leslie's jacket.
So that's going to be something you have to just do in the moment. You're not going to be able to totally plan it out.
Yeah.
You just have to know.
I'd like an alternate question.
Yeah, like the hit points. Like, you have to make him say he didn't see the person. You have to make him say that he thought he heard Leslie's voice. He saw the yellow jacket. Those pieces then come together for the jury. He doesn't put them together. The jury puts them together themselves. You have to say he didn't see anyone. The first person he actually sees is the person running away from him in the yellow jacket. It's the first person he sees, according to that series. And then, do you ask him anything else? I mean, we talked about this, right?
Yeah. I mean, those are basically covers like those 5 inconsistencies, plus really makes Sean look bad. The only thing that we had then is that there was no follow-up by the police, like an identification by someone's given name or a lineup. And
Now, Leslie or Rashawn, you go to Bailey Alternative High School, correct?
Yes.
And you go to high school with 2 different kids who both have similar nicknames. One of them's named Punter and one of them's named Muncher, correct?
Yes, they go to my school.
And you've had problems with both of these kids, haven't you?
not really a puncher, but more with muncher. He was the one who shot me.
I want to refer you back to that statement that you wrote prior to court. In that statement, you actually said that at some point last year, Puncher thought that you stole his sister's iPad. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, she left it in my car.
And you also say that Leslie St. Peter, who's known as Muncher, thought that you stole his jacket. Isn't that correct?
I don't know why he thought that. I hate his jacket.
So that's a yes, Leslie? Or
Well,
Rashawn?
he thought I stole it, but I didn't.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, so they voted me as well.
I think that if you, especially for next week, you got to be really abbreviated, and I almost feel like, and so you've made your huge point with it. You didn't see what he saw, and then now we're going to give alternative reading.
Okay.
This could take a long time to get your witness. You're going to have to be really agile, but you can do it a little bit.
Okay.
But the tone of your voice is going to be really important. That you come off as like the bossy librarian. But like, no. Sit down. You tell me you tell me the truth right now, young man. Like, kind of that.
I'm just gonna the truth.
Oh,
young man.
Billy.
Tall.
Youngin. Who's standing right now?
Is he taller than you?
Yes. Last year.
What is it? Where high heels? Well,
Actually, we have pictures of him in high heels.
We do. I have seen him actually.
Yeah.
I wear my
And Adam wears a closed
heels. We should delete.
Okay. Can I turn this off? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I'm going to have to leave soon.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.